You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again. Today, we have another show lined up for y'all. Today, we're going to talk to an educator, Miss Tara Hunter. She is a lifelong educator, and she is currently working as assistant principal, and we're going to learn everything about her amazing career. And first and foremost, I want to welcome Miss Tara to I Am Refocused Radio. Say, how you doing?
Hi, thank you for having me on this afternoon.
First and foremost, for our audience, kind of touch a little bit about your education career, being an educator, and you've been able to make a lot of impact on students. And I read about students coming back to you, telling how much you changed their lives. So kind of give our audience a little idea of your background being an educator.
So in 2002, I became a middle school teacher. Really excited. Walked into the door and I just saw great faces of students who wanted to learn. So I decided that I was going to pursue a career in education. I already currently had a bachelor's degree in accounting, majoring in financing. But I said, you know what? I want to switch over because I think I can make a difference in students' lives. I think that I can give them what is called hope, give them directions and guidance on what they can do once they finish school. So the first 13 years, I spent in the classroom in various middle and high school. Then I spent about 4 years in a coaching role where I coached and supported teachers. And then the last portion was being an assistant principal. In each of my roles, I can say that I've had the opportunity to meet some great parents who really wanted their kids to get all that they could out of a good education. I met some great scholars. I was able to be up under some great leaders who taught me how to lead. Fast forward to 2022, I've had the opportunity to have students call me and say, Miss Hunter, because of you, you were mean in class. You made me do my own work. You told me to do, I knew because I had a great future. And because of you, I've graduated from college. I'm a great mom. And so it has just been so impactful. But during those years, those early years, I just, I didn't see the fruit of my labor, but now I'm seeing it because I'm getting a lot of reach out, multiple social outlets of students saying, hey, thank you for being my teacher. Thank you for seeing the best in me. Thank you for being there when no one else was there for me, but you were always there. I'm making sure that I had the school supplies, that I had clothes. I've even had parents with getting them furniture. I have a teacher get a car that was walking to work. So wherever there was a need, I asked God to give me the strength and the ability and the finances to be able to be a blessing. And because of that, I am just overexcited when I wake up each day knowing that I've impacted someone's life.
This time, Refocus Radio talking to our guest, Tara Hunter, and your work has also been recognized by the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation. Can you kind of explain to the audience what that was all about and how you were able to receive that amazing recognition? Back
in the early 2000s, Melinda and Bill Gates partnered with my local school district and trying to incentivize teachers to go in and work hard to make sure that all of our scholars get the opportunity to get a great education. So as a I call myself a math expert because I do have a finance background. I took upon myself to find out exactly what the students needed to know to be successful. And so I did. And I did it. I was just being a great teacher every single day. And when Melinda and Bill Gates saw my scores at the end of the school year, they recognized me. And what it was, they were looking for all level 5 teachers. Been a level 5 teacher for more than 10 years of my teaching career. That means that more than 75% of my students met or exceeded their academic goals. And that was a great recognition by Melinda and Bill Gates. They even brought me in, and they brought all of us in from the state of Tennessee into an event and just kind of celebrated the great success that we did with our scholars. And we just kind of gave them some nuggets of things that we did, like making sure that we knew all of our students' learning styles, making sure that I knew what my students' needs were outside of the classroom, because that's important. A lot of teachers don't understand that you can't just go in and teach. You got to know, who are my students? What do they do when they leave your classroom? So as an educator, I made sure that I knew that. Like, what do my students have to encounter when they're at home? Everybody didn't have those rose picket fence lifestyles. So you got to make sure that you know what they have going on. So then they trust you. Then when they trust you, then they're more apt to meet your goals. And I made things so attainable for them. So when I was able to speak with the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation, I was able to tell them, as I was able to reach my students, not only on an academic level, but on a social level. And those two connections made it a win-win for them. And at the end, even though they recognized me, I applaud all of the students I had the opportunity of teaching, because they were the real winners. Because now they're able to go off and have career choices, college or technology or whatever they wanted to do, become teachers. I gave them that, what I call that globe in my classroom, to where they can spin it and do whatever they want to do as a career.
And like we said earlier, you've been teaching for over 20 years plus. And you mentioned about your bachelor's, but you also have 2 master's degrees.
Yes.
When you are looking back and right now, current position being assistant principal, what was it like to see you grow in progress as a professional educator? Because like you said, you're dealing with students and you see them grow up and now they have kids, and then they're reaching back to you saying how you made impact in their lives. How have you seen yourself just as a professional educator?
I make sure that all my students get the same type of support as if I've just met them. So I never assume, well, this worked last year, so let me try this year. No, I'm always getting to know who they are. So as a professional, I've always had a growth mindset. I'm always looking for growth. I'm looking for opportunities to become a better teacher or become a better administrator. So I always take what I do each day is I always do self-reflection to making sure that I am meeting my students' needs, but also making sure that I keep feeding myself, so I have things to pour out to them. Don't want to ever stand in front of anyone and not have the information and the tools they need for them to be successful while I'm growing myself.
And in the news, it's been a popular observation. A lot of teachers have been resigning, unfortunately. What are some of the things that you and your colleagues try to focus on to maintain that positive mindset that we're trying to help these students? How do y'all keep that momentum going forward?
In my role as an administrator, one of the things that I work hard in doing is making sure that I have touch points throughout the day with my teachers, making sure that I understand what their needs are. So for me, relationships is very important. So I make sure I know who my teachers are outside of the classroom, because a lot of times that's impacting them in the classroom, just like our students. So I build those positive relationships with them. And then I give them small wins each day so that they can see that being in the classroom is rewarding. A lot of times everybody's looking for the big goal, which is at the end of the year, those STAR test goals. But teachers have to have those each everyday small goals, because little small goals will lead you to your big goals. You mentioned about teachers are leaving the profession. Being an educator is hard. One of the things I think society takes for granted is that teachers are true heroes. They had to take 25 or more households in one classroom and make them become one unit. That is a job, that is a task that it is not for the faint at heart. You've got to be able to go in and say, this student here has this going on, this student over here has this going on. How do I make them all come together? So as a leader, I give them the tools they need to make sure that they can have all students heading toward the same goal, and that's for them to have academic success. And that is hard. And I think a lot of teachers are just getting burnt out because it's a lot. Being in COVID for that year and a half, almost 2 years, it has changed our education system. Our scholars were at home, they were on the computers, and so they didn't have that strict 8 hours in the classroom with the instruction and a lot of downtime. So that has impacted our education system. So now we have to say, what do we need to do different to keep our kids in the classroom as well as keeping our educators in the classroom? And the answer is, we got to stop and say, what is more important is what is it? And I would say the first thing is making sure that we support our teachers, giving them the tools they need and the support. Everybody likes to be appreciated, from the big to the small. And then with our students, partner with our parents and say it's important that they come to school each and every day and that you stand with us. And when schools make decisions, support those decisions, because that is what I think is causing a lot of educators that I have been in contact with to leave. It's like, Mom, you got to support us. Parents don't understand we are with your children more than you are. And let's be honest, school starts at 7, they get home at 5, you eat dinner, they go to bed at 8. They spend the most of their day at school. So if we say we need some support, stand with us. And that is what teachers are asking for the parents to stand with us, because we know that you want your child to be successful, but there's some things that we need to partner with to make sure that takes place.
And when you are creating systems for students to be successful, and with your current role, how do you do that? What are some of the things you try to do to create systems for not just teachers to be able to function, but the students to excel?
So one of the things that I do is I ask the students, what is your end goal for this particular school year? What do you want to do? And most students, everybody, the popular answer is, I want to make an A. Okay, well, what are the things that you're going to do? So I give them this, what I call a web. So in the middle this is my big goal in the middle. And then these 5 or 6 are on the outside, the things that I'm going to make it happen. So I tell them, create your web. You want to make an A, then what are the things that you're going to do to make that A? And then I tell my students, just because you write it down in pencil, and the reason why you put it in pencil, because things change. You have to be flexible. So they might write those things down, those 5 or 6 things down, but we revisit them every 30 days and say, are we on the right trajectory to meeting your goal? If not, what are some things that we need to change? And be honest. And I call that accountability. So that they're accountable and that we hold teachers accountable, then it's a win-win for everyone.
Listen to On Refocus Radio, talking to Terry Hunter, lifelong educator. You also are a person, an individual who is an author as well. You're writing books. Tell the audience a little bit about that experience. And is there a current book that you're working on?
Yes, during this season of what I have experienced, it has birthed 2 books. The first book is called Going to Mimi and Papa's House. It's a children's book that I dedicate to my 2 small grandchildren. And it inspired me because our grandchildren love to come visit us. And I want to make sure that I can capture those moments, because kids only kids for a short period of time. My second book is called In the Waiting Room. And it was, once again, birthed from the experience that I've had over the last 6 months. So I want people to know, what do you need to do while you're waiting on God? I'm writing about how you tap into those sources that God has. And that's the Word of God, spending time in your Word. Prior to my experience this year, I was already a woman of faith who spent time with God. But now that I've had this tragedy to occur in my life, I really tapped into God even more and saying, God, I trust you. God, I need you. God, you're the only one that can make this right. And then God, and in the midst of this, while in the waiting room, God has taught me what the word forgiveness means and who forgiveness belongs to. It belongs to me, not to the other person. So it taught me those things. So it's going to be a bestseller. I know it is. It is going to be so powerful that people are going to be able to pick up and say, I can relate to it. I know what it's like to be in a season of waiting. And what do you do when you're waiting? You trust God. And I have 20 powerful scriptures, because the entire Bible is powerful. But 20 God has given to me that I am going to build upon while in the waiting room.
Once again, listen to On Refocus Radio, talking to Terry Hunter. I'm sure you have a support system. Were you at a certain point where you only could be around certain people until the fog cleared?
During the time of the event, I couldn't see anyone. And I couldn't, except for people that was in my city. say, if you come to visit me, but I could not leave the city.
Mm.
And for me, that was devastating. I have my mother is ill, and my grandparents are elderly, and I come from a very strong family. I mean, we are, even my in-laws, we're very, very strong. So when that particular event happened to me, it kind of shook my family because I was probably one of the last that it would ever thought would have happened to me, because I've always thrived in my career. So I had to be okay with only seeing my family that's out of state via Zoom. And that was very painful. My grandfather was 90 years old, just passed away this past Sunday. And because of the charges being dropped, I was able to see him. And people don't understand that when you do things to people like what happened to me, you affect everyone. And me not being able to see my grandparents and my mom and my in-laws, that was devastating. But because I was able to see him for Thanksgiving, I feel great. So as I travel in the morning as we prepare to lay him to rest, I have a peace to say, you know what, there was nobody but God, because I asked God to let me see him one more time. And God honored my request. That's what I'm saying. People have got to trust God, because he does it. His word never returns void. And I'm so grateful for that.
We're talking to Terry Hunter on Army Focus Radio. And thanks for answering that, because want people definitely check out your book. Do you have a release date?
Well, my children's books should be out in February, and I'm still working on my in the waiting room. It'll be out this summer.
Okay.
But I would definitely want to touch back base with you so you can get a chance to get a copy of it, because they both are going to be bestsellers. I already know it.
For our listening audience, then we want to make sure that they keep an eye out on that. With all that said, how can people find you online if you're online? So that way, if you make an update and a date that's official in the summer next year, when they can find the book.
I am on Facebook. You can look up my name, Tara Hunter, and you'll find me there. And then I have a Chris Herring, who is the executive director of Global Chambers. His team is going to be working with me too, also to get my book out. So if they look up the both of us, then they will be able to find the book, both books. And just get ready, because I'm going to be on YouTube. I'm going to be on TikTok, promoting both of my books.
And this is a teaser, because it's purposely not giving all the details on this episode, because there's more to come, if I can just put it that way.
Yes.
Once again, Terry Hunter, lifelong educator, going back to teaching, touching on the topic of like teachers resigning. What would you say to encourage teachers out there who want to teach, but they might be in a place where they're not feeling it like they want to, as far as the passion, because the frustration or what have you? What would you say to teachers out there to encourage them to keep going and keep pushing?
So the first thing I would encourage teachers to do is, whoever your building leaders are, ask of them to mentor you. Ask them to find you a mentor, someone that you can have a sounding board when you feel like you want to give up. Our students need great teachers. People don't realize that teachers are who are the ones that build our leaders, who are where the billionaires come from. All leaders and all billionaires and people who are rich, people who are doing great in this world, they all started in the classroom with a teacher. Someone invested time in them. So I would tell teachers, if you are feeling a sense of burnout or don't see anything great for yourself in it, ask your building leaders, ask your school district. I need a mentor. I need someone that's going to come and be there with me when I have those days that I just feel like I don't want to be in the classroom. I will say this, I am looking at pretty soon starting a organization for teachers where they can call in and get the support. I want to have a platform for them to say, I'm struggling with this, can you help me? And I want to bring together veteran teachers who can also invest in our teachers. We got to give back. And I think that's a platform that's not been developed yet. And I think that's something that I want to do in this real near future, probably the next 6-7 months, is have a place where teachers can come and they can call, and they're veteran teachers who have been through what they are experiencing, and give them some support. Because I promise you, every classroom that I know of and that I've seen has great educators, because this is not something that people just wake up one morning and say, I want to be a teacher. It is a calling. And we in America have great educators. And there's not enough people who are saying it. We always saying what teachers don't do right. But let's talk about the things that they do right. We have great educators. So I'm going to be thinking about, like I said, putting together a platform for teachers, because it's needed. Because we can always smear somebody in the media, but we don't never say, but let's look at these teachers right here who doing X, Y, and Z. Hey, I saw this happen over here. And that's what's needed so that they can stay in the classroom and that our kids can have someone who cares about them now and in the future.
With parents out there, what's some things parents can do to help teachers or individuals in the community getting involved to help schools?
I want to start with the community first. Communities have to invest in a school. And when I say invest, that means your time. We can always give schools millions of dollars, but schools need people who want to invest time into the schools. We need community leaders to go in and read to our kids. A lot of our students have challenge with reading. Go in and help them with their homework during the daytime. Every community leader, we have enough people in our communities that if people dedicate one day out of the week, they only have to do it probably once every 4 or 5 months. But every community leader needs to have a group of educators or people who are retired educators that will go into the schools and say, hey, I'm here to volunteer. And just be there, be a support, make copies for teachers, make sure teachers have lunch to eat. A lot of times my teachers don't eat food because they're so busy trying to make copies. Be in the classroom so when a child is having a meltdown, hey, I want to sit with you and teach you how to get through it. I would say for parents, partner with your teachers. They are not the enemy. They're on the same team with you. They want to see your child be successful. Remember, we spend 8 hours. When I say we, that means principals, assistant principals, guidance counselors, teachers, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, front office staff, school nurse. We spend 8 to 10 hours with your child. So we want the best for them. So partner with us. Don't go to school screaming and hollering at teachers. Go and find out what happened. Get the entire story. Don't just get pieces of the story. And then say, how can we work together? Then I want to say another piece to it is that we need to start making sure that media posts positive things about education. A lot of our kids say to me, they see nothing but negativity or they don't see a need to have education. We need to have more people just to say, you need to have a good education. And it starts with us working together as a one unit and not in separate pockets.
Once again, listen to I'm Refocused Radio, talking to our guest for today, Tara Hunter, lifelong educator. And those who are listening right now, they want to connect with you one more time and prepare for the new year when you drop a couple new books, one in February and one in the summer. How can they follow you again?
They can look me up, follow me on Facebook. You can look up Tara Hunter. And I have another website that is called Deeply Rooted, because I also make a hair and skin and body product line. They can also follow me there. As soon as the book is finished being edited and ready for publishing, I am going to post it on both of those sites. But just follow me. Find me and say, hey, Tara Hunter, I want your book. And I'm going to be posting on YouTube. I'm going to be posting on TikTok. Just tell them, just get ready. And I'm going to, the end of January, I will be posting coming soon. And then I will have the actual locations where they can go and purchase the books.
Once again, talking to Tara Hunter, I want to say thank you for taking your time. Once again, talking to I'm Refocused Radio.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, it's Shemai Reed with I Am Refocused Radio. Make sure you go to IamRefocusedRadio.com to listen to today's episode. Once again, like we always say, keep God first, stay focused, and peace.